Hey, I'm Danny Rubio, one of the creatives here at Online Creator Studio. I'm the video resident, and today we'll be focusing on comparing the Z6, the EOS R, and the GH5 to how a video producer uses a camera, so the ergonomics. This is a quick editor note. Before you guys hop into this video, this one, strap yourself in because this is a long one. I don't actually tend to like making content this long, but it was a day where I had all the camera and I just kind of wanted to talk, so I would love to know what you thought about it. If you hated it, please let me know. Mostly I would love to, yeah, I figured I didn't want to break it up. I just figured I'd throw it up there so you guys can have it. Anyways, hope you enjoy. I'm going to start off with the GH5. Now, because this is the one I'm most familiar with, so I probably have a little bit of a bias, but mostly I just want to talk about some things that I really love. Part one, I really love the flip out screen. As someone who produces a lot of video, I love being able to hold it pretty close to me and be able to look down. If I need a low shot, I can do that. And if I'm producing content for myself or for online people, I love that I can have the monitor right in front of me. So if I have it out there, I know I'm in frame or whatever. Some of the other things that I really love about the GH5 is that they have a custom, they have a white balance, a ISO, and then a exposure compensation button. They also have a function 1 button up here. It also has several other custom buttons. We have a custom button up here by the live view. We have the quick menu, which is when I usually set to that, but they also have a function 3 button and then a function 4 button down here. And then you can actually set the dials like up, down, left, and right to custom settings as well. I also have one other custom button that's up here, in right where my ring finger goes, where you can actually, it kind of goes. I have smaller hands, so I usually end up using this button, but this can also be a custom button. So that's also something I really love. I also really like that there's a locking mechanism here with the dial. So with this dial, I can lock it in, I can change where I want to go, and then lock it in place so that I'm secure. I know that I'm not moving anything around. As a video producer, I think it's really nice to have that, because a lot of times, especially this one is not in the way, but some other cameras actually have like the camera setting might be in the way. I've used one. I can't think of. I think the one of the AP6 cameras, now I can't remember which one it is, but I had a problem where I would bump it a little bit. The other thing is that when I'm holding this camera, my finger's right where I need to have for white balance to change it on the fly. The ISO, I can just quickly press this button, rock that thumb. And what I do like is that I like to have my ISO where my thumb is at and my aperture up where my finger's at. And that's just my preference. I know that my Sean, he likes to have it reversed. Now, so that's just kind of a personal preference. So with all those, real fast, the GH5, when it comes to the customization, so if I hold down this button, a custom menu kind of comes into play, and it's got 20 different selections. So it has an enormous amount of customization that I can do with it. Whereas the Nikon Z6. Now this one is also a pretty amazing hybrid camera. People kind of knock on, I think, Nikon for not being very good at video, but when they came out with the Z6, we ended up ordering it at my work, and it has been a fantastic camera. Even with the fact that this is an F lens and not a Z mount lens, the adapter's been awesome. And the ergonomics have been pretty good. So there's a couple of things here. There are two little buttons right here next to the camera, and they also have they have an ISO, a record button, and an exposure compensation button on the top. On the back, we have a switch for video mode, and video mode and photo mode, as well as your info button and your joystick. You have a display setting right here, and then your other little buttons for magnification and some other things. Something that I don't really love is the fact that it's just a flip back screen, and mostly because I've actually found that it's not as bad as I thought. I mean, it's been a while since I had used this, and so having to use this when I'm behind the camera and I know I'm only gonna be shooting a client or a talent or something, having this camera and doing having it just like flip out like this is totally fine. You know, it's totally doable. I can have it right in front of me if I'm down low. I can have it right here, and I can look at where I'm going. Now, you know, sometimes like I sometimes I want to be able to, or being able to like set this up, especially because sometimes I have to be in front of the camera, being able to set it up and have the flip out screen to the side to frame my shot up would have been really nice. And not, you know, don't do it. Nikon, don't flip it out underneath. That's just dumb. Okay. Let's talk about the actual ergonomics of this. Now, you can customize these buttons. However, Nikon is very specific on like which buttons, what things you can add to the custom buttons for their cameras, which is a little annoying. So if I hold down, right now I have this bottom button set to my autofocus modes, and so I can switch it with I can hold it down. I hold it down and then I rock the back dial, and I can switch from autofocus single, autofocus continuous to autofocus full, which I forget about a lot. Honestly, when I'm filming with this camera, a lot of times I end up using the info button. And this is like where the big win stuff. You end up you can customize this menu as well. But sometimes I find it really awkward because I go to this menu and let's go to like the mode. Now you can click into it and then you can, you know, choose high and then you can choose your frame rate. However, if you don't click okay, it doesn't set it. And I've had times where I'm thinking I thought I switched over to 60 and I didn't. What you can do is actually you can go to the button, or so if I hit I and then I can scroll, this tells you where you're going and that stops. So that is nice. However, it's just one of those little quirks about the camera, like that if that until you get like really ingrain yourself in clicking that OK button or whatever, you kind of have to slow down just a little bit to then get what you need and then move forward. So with that being said, I have remapped the autofocus on button to be a record button because what is this? Itty bitty record button. And however, because this is an awesome hybrid camera, you can't use the shutter button for record. It just takes a picture, which is nice when I'm recording a video and I want to snag a picture that's just JPEG just to have there. I can be recording, snag that shutter button, I'm good. But like the button is just, so this button is just small enough that like it's like when I'm filming, it just feels slightly awkward when I'm pressed to press it. It's not the end of the world. I think it just comes with like using it a lot and just getting comfortable, but it's just way easier to have my thumb, boom, I'm recording. Now the upper one, let's see what I have for I don't even know what this upper one is. Yeah. The other thing I really don't like is that like you can't really customize anything else. Like it's just these two function buttons up at the top. If you have the Z, some of the Z glass has a button that you can customize, just like Canon R cameras have. You can hit record that on or you can have different settings on that button. I just have an F mount lens, so I don't have that. So I think that if we had a Z mount lens, that you might have a little bit extra functionality that might add to what your setup is. Overall, I do really appreciate like the dial here is really solid. It's got a good click to it. This one also has kind of it's not like where the GH5 you push it in and it locks it. You have to press it down and then you can move it, which is kind of nice. One other thing that I actually really love is that you can, when you have it set to video mode, it's completely independent settings compared to when you set it to photo mode, which I think is like just so nice. Like just honestly, I would love to have this thing on every camera, especially as a hybrid shoot, as a content producer. Like, it's so nice to be able to switch to video, have everything set up the way I want it to set up, and then switch to photo. And then if I hit the I menu, this is a completely different menu. So nice. Really, really awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of, I will say the grip on this, this is a really small camera. So like if I take this off, it is so tiny, like really tiny body. The only reason why it feels massive is because I have the F adapter, and so it'd be a little bit shorter if I was doing Z glass. Now, but with this, even with that said, like the grip feels pretty good. However, it's like a deep grip, so the grip, my fingers really curl around it, and I feel good. They have like a little lip right here, and my thumb, it really is nice to have there. But I kind of, it does feel short on this end. Like it just feels like a little tight here. So I think that having a cage might help that. The upper menu, I honestly don't use it. Like I'm usually relying on this or my viewfinder from It's a Bright Day, and it's good to go. Okay, so ergonomics for the GH5. I have smaller hands, and so I honestly, sometimes I wish I had a half cage for my GH5, but I don't have. The only half cage they have for small rig is the one that has with the extended battery, which is sucky because I don't have that. Because I really actually enjoy the grip. It's not as deep as the Z6, but because it's kind of thicker, it's a thicker camera. It's a little bit of a thicker camera. I mean, it's 3 years old, so it just feels. It feels full. Like that's the only way I can think of it. It just feels full when I'm using it in productions. All right, so now I'm gonna talk about the EOS R. So I spent a couple of days because because the C70 looks like a really awesome camera. Mostly because it's a cinema camera, but it's at a more reasonable price point than their other cinema line, at least for someone in my budget range. And it's smaller. I really enjoy. I just really enjoy the smaller, compact feel of the mirrorless kind of frame setup. I did have to switch out the camera because I was using this lens. So I'm using my GH5 now. I was using the C100 before. Now, with this camera, the body feels a little bit more full than the Nikon. The Nikon, like I said, it has a deep grip. This also has a pretty deep grip. I will say the leather or whatever fabric this is a little weird to get, or it's a different feel than the other cameras. The other cameras feel, it's just a different texture, and it kind of like bothers my hands slightly. Now, some people really didn't like this touch bar. I actually found that it wasn't the worst. I think it just had to come in. I did what you can't customize that, which I like. You can customize each of the buttons. I have it set up to have waveforms off and on, and then over here I have it set up for auto white balance to custom white balance, and then here I can change it to if I want to have a different eye focus or single focus, which is kind of nice. I do think that it would take some time to get comfortable so that your thumb doesn't I do think it'll take some time for you to kind of get comfortable so your thumb doesn't rest on that touch bar, but it's totally doable. It's just, a couple of days of practice or going out and shooting things. GH5, although it's touted as a hybrid camera, and I think that it does take it's good enough photos for most use cases. It is primarily like a video focused camera. Like there's just a lot more, it's just really beneficial. I do think that when it comes to, they have done a lot of great improvements on that video side for the GH5, but compared to the Z6, this feels more like a still camera. Now, if you're a Canon user for a long time, it might not be a big deal for you, but I haven't been on Canon for a long time, and it really feels that although there's some amazing video features and amazing autofocus and really fantastic colors, really when it comes to usability, I find that there's just enough there that you have to kind of things are set up set up for a different workflow. Part of that is I also switched the record button here because this one is worse than the Nikon. It's so tiny. The record button's up here. Why have a record button so tiny? I just don't understand, people. The other thing is although you can customize this, this has a lot of other customization abilities. You do have to really spend time. Take your time and figure out what works best for your workflow. I think it does feel the EOS R, although is an amazing camera, it has amazing it like for stills, fantastic. You know, highly recommend it. I think if you're a Canon shooter and you're wanting to upgrade from a lower end Canon, I mean the EOS R is fantastic. I think that if you're looking to upgrade as a video producer, it's just not there for me. It's just, I think that there's enough small little quirks like how to change into video mode, then info, and then your video mode, and then you can switch between what settings you want. Now, it's not the end of the world, like it's not the worst thing in the world to be in that setup, but it's not switch. Like I have to, it's one, 2 button clicks. Not the worst thing in the world, like, right? It keeps the same spot. So if you're in manual video settings or if you're in manual photo settings, it keeps in the same spot. I think that, like, I do think the EOS R is really great for the price point right now, especially with the R5 and R6 that have come out. Like, you can get really far with this camera. But if you're a hybrid shooter, I think the Z6 beats it. When it comes to hybrid, although I think that there's still some quirks when it comes to like that info menu. I find that similar to Canon also has the quick menu. Nikon's version, I think that you can customize it if you spend a lot of time kind of customizing where your settings are at to get to be much closer to a faster workflow than having to go into the info settings, go to the setting you want to switch, and changing that. But when it comes to these two, I think that if you're more of a hybrid, you might if you're a hybrid shooter that leans towards video, I think the Z6 or the GH5, actually the Z6 beats out the GH5 only because it's a full frame photo. But if you're just focusing on video, like, I think you go with the Z6 or the GH5 and you'll be fine, because it does great. If you're only take occasional photos, you can totally take photos with the GH5 and be solid. Like, it's not terrible. Like, you can get the job gets done, and if you get done, there's more content to be made and more projects to finish means more payments. So this is a really long video, and I'm sorry for that, but I kind of wanted to talk about this because I use a whole bunch of different cameras. At work, I use the Ursa Mini, which is a whole nother beast I don't want to talk about. C100 I was using just to get a little bit more familiar. It's a standard cinema camera, and there's some quirks about that just because I've been in the mirrorless realm for so long. These are my thoughts for those of you who are either just getting started or you've been in this trenches and you're a content producer creating lots of content for either for your company or for like a full-time job or even as a freelancer. When it comes to cameras, I really do think that, like, when you hold a camera and the way it feels to you is really important. Now, these are just my opinions, so take it for what it's worth. But when it comes, for me, the Canon R doesn't fit the bill to roll both video and photo in the way I like to work. The Z6 and the GH5, I think, kind of are like right neck and neck. I think for me, the GH5 is a little bit higher only because I find that some of the custom setting buttons, the customization that I can do with all the buttons is just phenomenal. Whereas the Z6, I think that there's just I wish it was just maybe 2 more buttons or the ability to map a couple other buttons to be something else rather than just what they are. Like these buttons, these are like magnification buttons. I hardly ever punch in, and if I do, I use focus peaking, and if I am manually focusing and want to get something very specific, I would find another way to make it, to put it there. But it's not something I use on a regular basis, so I really want to change those to something that's a little bit more useful, like changing a color profile, like go from natural to standard, or natural to, some other setting. And that's just mostly because of my style. Like, I like to be able to shoot something, switch to a different frame rate, snag some photos when I'm doing video, which is really nice. Or, like, hey, I'm taking a break, there's not a lot of stuff happening, I'm gonna go browse, switch it to photo mode, photo settings are set up, doom, I'm good to go. Now, I will say that the S5 does seem to tick a lot of those boxes that I've quirks that I've mentioned. I haven't got my hands on it, but for me, I don't know where this is going to lead. really, I just wanted to share my thoughts, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. And I really apologize this is a long video. I will make sure to leave chapter markers for everybody. If you stayed for me this long, I really appreciate it. Let me know what camera you find to be the most ergonomically useful for your workflow. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts, and maybe one of some of the things that you thought that is a weird quirk or something you love about the camera. I'll see you guys in the next one.